Hello there, people of the internet. This is a rifle that is a little bit more on the unique side. This particular one I bought from a friend of mine who was in a position to where he needed to get rid of it, and we're just going to leave it at that. So this particular rifle is called a Hakim, and it is chambered in 8mm Mauser, which is probably one of my favorite, rifle chamberings of all time. This is a semi-automatic rifle. It is a direct impingement system, and it has a lot of really unique features. So this is coming out a little while after I had shown off a Hakim that I had gotten from RTI. I'm still probably going to try to get that one up and going. It's a little worse for wear. I don't necessarily know what I'm going to do with that one as of yet, but this one I know is up and shooting and in working order because I've taken it out to the range before and shot it. As a matter of fact, I'll probably have another video of me out there shooting it. But I wanted to make like an overview video of it so you guys can really in-depth see the rifle. So right here is our magazine. I believe that these hold 10 rounds of ammunition. Obviously the rifle has been cleared. What makes this rifle so unique is the way that you charge the system. So normally on your Hakim rifles, there we go, set that there, you would actually push this forward versus pulling something back like what we're used to here in the United States. You would push this forward and you will actually grab onto the bolt itself. And now the bolt and that little slide assembly are the same piece, essentially holding itself together. Whenever you bring this slide assembly to the rear of the receiver, the bolt is going to fly forward. Just like that, and if there was a loaded magazine in there, the rifle would be charged and ready to go. How you stop the bolt from slamming forward and keeping it attached to your slide, which is what I'm going to just call this piece right here. Whenever we bring this forward, normally your safety, you would just flip it to safe, and I'm not sure which is fire and which is safe here. Normally you would just flip it to safe, and that would essentially stop the bolt from flying forward, but this particular Hakim has some safety issues, so I'm going to align my safety to right about there, and whenever I bring my bolt back, now you'll notice it's at the rear, but the bolt has not flown forward. Now this one is kind of sketchy because of that safety being a little bit messed up, so I'm going to keep my fingers away from that. But how this rifle works is normally you would have your one magazine inserted into the rifle, and you would lock your bolts or your slide and bolt assembly to the rear. And with the safety on, which means with that safety on, the bolt cannot fly forward because there's nothing there to engage the back of the slide, and I'll show you guys how that works here in a second. And that means you'll be able to safely load rounds in through the top of the rifle into the magazine of the Hakim. This little block on the top of the slide, this is designed to hold your stripper clips in place. You actually set it down horizontally, flip it up vertically, and it will actually lock that stripper clip in place so you can comfortably load your rounds into your rifle. I definitely do not feel comfortable doing that, especially on this particular Hakim because of how the safety is messed up. Like if I were to bring this to this side, which I think is the safe position, if I bring this to this side, which I believe is the safe position, and pull this back, our bolt flies forward. But if I were to take it and set it on what I think is the fire position, it might fly forward, it might not. Let's find out. Oh, yeah, there we go. It flew forward that time too. So like I said, the safety on this particular one is a little messed up, so whenever I load this thing, I just bite the bullet, take the extra 4 seconds to pull the magazine out. So I brought up that the Hakim was a direct impingement system, which it is. If I were to pull this forward and then bring it back, you can see this right here, and that right there is the end of our gas tube. As a matter of fact, where's my other Hakim at? It's buried in my closet. Okay, well, I'm not going to bother grabbing that. But go watch my other Hakim video. You'll see that there's a gas tube in the rifle, and it comes back to here, and that blows your little assembly backward to, cycle the firearm. On the rear of the Hakim, you see this little block right here. This right here is like a little hook that hooks onto the bolt whenever you push your slide forward. And our safety has a flat spot and a not flat spot. And the flat spot needs to be positioned in a way to where whenever the slide is pulled back, there's nothing to hit that little catch for the bolt slide assembly to disengage from one another and, you know, fly apart under spring tension. And that little flat spot just does not line up properly on this rifle. I have no idea how well this is going to show up on camera, but that's probably not going to show up very well on camera. But bottom line, no matter where I put this safety except for this one particular spot, there is going to be a, you know, something there to hit that tab and send that bolt flying forward. So that hook is hooking onto the bolt in a manner that is kind of similar to this. And then whenever this hits the back of the safety, that slide, the little hook on it, kind of like gets pushed forward like this. And then there's nothing holding it there, and the spring pushes the bolt and whatnot apart. And that is what happens with our system here. Bam, just like that. Now, we do have a way to adjust the gas system on these. This right here is our gas system adjuster. If you do decide to just use a pair of pliers to adjust these, I would recommend taking off your upper handguard here, just so you don't mar up the wood. So the way that this works, if it's pointing in the 6 o'clock position, like the arrow pointing back at your receiver, that means that your gas system is 100% open. You are probably going to be overgassed, but your rifle should basically run anything that you stick in it. However, with the arrow pointing essentially in the 9 o'clock position, not quite exactly in the 9 o'clock position, I'd say that's more 8:45 or, you know, minor things like that, but essentially in the 9 o'clock position, that is the gas completely closed off. This way you can avoid cycling your rifle if for whatever reason you wanted to avoid cycling your rifle. My particular case, I do it to conserve my 8mm brass. This right here is our very aggressive muzzle brake, which actually works extremely well for making sure that the rifle doesn't lift or bounce very much upon firing. I've done some pretty rapid firing with this particular one, and because we have no holes on the bottom and we have holes on top, as the gas kind of like ejects out of the rifle, it'll actually push the barrel and the muzzle of the rifle down, while the recoil into your shoulder is kind of lifting the rifle up, and it'll help like stabilize it, because we have downward force interacting with upward force. So it just kind of stays in the middle, and it works surprisingly well. I'll be honest, it might be a not very pretty muzzle brake, but it definitely has its plays. Looks like we got a sling swivel right there, and a sling swivel right here that is not in the center of the stock of the rifle, which tells me that this was probably designed specifically to be carried by right-handed shooters, which would make sense. You know what? While we're at it, let's have a look at some of these markings. I can't tell you what any of this means, because this is not in English. These look like numbers. That I can probably tell you. That looks like numbers. But for the most part, a lot of these are just kind of squiggles, and I don't speak squiggle, so I can only assume with a lot of this stuff. I don't actually know. But there you go. There's the receiver. Aha! This says Hakim 7.9 made in Egypt. That I do recognize because it is English. The stock of the rifle, I won't lie, actually looks pretty gosh darn good. I don't know when the year of production for this particular Hakim was, but it's still got the finish. It's clearly not been through the ringer like some other Hakims have. Cough, 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 looking at my one from RTI. So yeah, this right here is my Hakim that I received from a buddy of mine, and now I have myself a usable Hakim rifle. So I wanted to do an overview. This is just a tabletop shot, I guess, of the rifle. There are videos of me shooting this thing if you want to go watch that. If not, then I'll just say my outro, I guess. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out, including a store link down there now. I've opened up a store, so if you're interested in going to see what I have to offer, by all means, go ahead and do that. That being said, I guess I'll see you all on the next episode. since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.